Hello there my fellow holotable heroes and welcome to another Conquest video guide. So Conquest 10 is starting in less than 22 hours from now, so I just wanted to do a quick video guide for you here where I want to talk about overall what's new in the upcoming Conquest, and then I want to as well show you the updates I have made to my SWGOH for Life Conquest tool, talk about the new data disks that CG announced. So pretty much all of the data here in terms of the data disks and feats and boss battle is coming from SWGOH Events Discord server. So thank you guys so much for providing this valuable data for us every time. If you haven't visited their Discord server, please do. There'll be a link in the description below. Go and check it out. But for now, let's just start off first with the overview, kind of the general changes here that we are getting for Conquest 10. So first things first, the old man Boba, probably already know, will be the reward character here for his conquest, and because he's the reward, the main here theme for the next three conquests will be bounty hunters. So there you go, my bounty hunters are not that amazing. It's pretty much, you know, what we had requirements for Galactic Legends as well as Executor. The rest of them definitely could use some love, so I'll see how far I get into this conquest. But if you can put a solid 2 bounty hunter teams here together, I think you will pretty much have quite easy time going through this conquest. If you have only one like me, you know, we'll have to find a way how to get it done. So as always, I'll be creating guides and posting them on my YouTube channel. So the next thing that will be new is the new easy mode. So on top of our normal and hard mode, CG will also introduce the easy mode. We'll see how that works obviously once it launches. Now on the other spectrum, for the hard mode, they will introduce even harder one. So in each sector there'll be a hard path, additional path that at the moment we have 2 paths selecting nodes, so they'll add a third one in there in each sector. So if you go on that hard path, obviously the battles will be harder, but you will be getting better rewards and also more data disks to choose from. Again, we'll see how that plays out. Are those rewards worth of your extra headache to try to bang against, you know, those over prepared squads or not? We'll see how that one goes. Obviously the additional data disks are nice as well. Again, we'll see if it will be worth it. And yes, CG has listened to our feedback apparently to make the conquest feel less grindy. So what I've done was they actually reduced the overall number of feats in each sector we have to achieve. However, they did increase the number of battle nodes. So now each sector, instead of 14 nodes, will have 22 nodes. So, you know, it'll take longer to get through the sectors just because of that. Now the next kind of a little bit more positive side of things would be the mini boss and final boss feats were kind of simplified. So aware all of those, you know, feats where you have to remove turn meter, you have to recover health, you have to apply armor shred and things like that. So they will all each have just only 2 feats. However, the design is such a way that you will not be able to do them in one battle. So each boss, both mini and final bosses, will require 2 battles. So usually like one of those feats will be kind of connected to some of sort of the bounty hunter feat, and then the other one will be don't use bounty hunters for mini bosses, and then for final bosses will be basically don't use Galactic Legends because you're not allowed to use Jedi, you're not allowed to use Sith and Aligned Force users. So again, I'll go through those sector by sector once we get to the end of the video. And speaking of the max rewards, so looks like according to information again from the SWGOH Events Discord server, thank you guys so much for providing these valuable service to the community. They're saying that the maximum keycards here is 662. However, you need 630 to get the red crate. So, you know, kind of similar like previous, you got about 30 kind of their key cards that you can choose not to collect, which then will allow you to maybe skip a couple of those feats that might be difficult and challenging for you. More about that again later once we started going more in depth into the actual feats and the teams that we can use to do. Alright, so moving on, so I just want to go through here the updates I made to the Conquest tool on my SWGOH for Life. For those of you that are not familiar with it yet, there'll be a link in the description below. It's just a useful website where I cover pretty much all kind of game modes, and then there you can search through as well as then watch the videos of my guides on YouTube. So it's a very easy kind of way to go through. So I'm just gonna show you like all the kind of sections here in the Conquest page that I updated for the upcoming Conquest number 10. So as obviously I have no video guides for Conquest 10 yet here because it didn't start yet. But as soon as, hopefully the Conquest starts, probably in a day or two, these will start filling up. So again, you can come back anytime to see what's up there, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can kind of get notified when I upload those. So this will be slowly filling up with various feats as well as mini boss, final boss battles, and just kind of some sort of generic conquest guides or previous guides at the bottom here. So especially the data disk might be useful in case you need a refresher of which disc to go for. I've also updated now my daily plan for Conquest 10. Obviously this is all just kind of predictions really, because without playing through the whole Conquest it's hard to know how well this plan will work. So it's kind of work in progress, so definitely always happy to get any feedback from you guys, either in comments below or my Discord server, if this kind of works or not. Again, it will really largely depend on how skilled your bounty hunters are and smugglers and things like that. But again, I will go more into the feats later. So one of the new things that has been added for this time, I also now at the bottom of every day's page, I also kind of show the global feats progress, because global feats here will play a huge part here in getting the red crate, whereas before all the kind of global feats were quite generic, so just kind of were playing through and completing them, except the Mole and Savage one. The rest of them were kind of automatic, whereas these ones we really have to plan carefully here to get this done. Then also I've updated the feats here screen. So before it was just kind of sector feats, however now I did include the global feats. I include all the sector feats one by one, as well as added mini boss and final boss feats. So here you can simply see, like, okay, for this kind of feat what teams can be suggested. Moving on to discs, the recommended disc, I didn't update them at this point in time. It's just because the new data discs, we'll see how they affect us, so this might change, but it's at least a good starting point what to look out for when you start playing through. Now speaking of data disk, let's cover what's new. So let's look at the new discs coming. So again, this is from the data mine extracted by the amazing guys over at SWGOH Events Discord server. So I just kind of group them in kind of groups here. So the first two kind of belong to the group of the debuff ones. So we got War of Attrition. Once per turn, whenever a debuff expires on an enemy, all enemies lose 4% turn meter. This sounds quite cool, obviously, but you will have to combine it with some other discs that, like caustic emission, that applies dots and or burning on the beginning when they get a turn. So on the next turn, then they will start losing turn meter. So this could be useful. However, 4 dots, we'll see how this plays, but definitely sounds something good, because they'll all be removing turn meter. Or for example, you go with Vader into Merciless, you apply lots of dots, you throw his Culling Blade, and suddenly the enemies lose a whole lot of turn meter. So definitely something probably fun to play around. Moving on, thermal exhaust. So whenever an enemy gains 5 debuffs, they will gain 3 stacks of thermal detonators. I think we have something similar before, but they only gain 1 stack on thermal detonator possibly. So definitely good to see that this got a buff, especially now because we'll have to rely so much here on bounty hunters. So definitely, like, if you could stack lots of thermal detonators, then Zam can go to town with her basic and things like that. So I think definitely fun to play around whenever we do have to use bounty hunters. The next group here is about bonuses when you deal damage to an enemy. So the first one, Volatile Accelerator. So whenever you deal damage to the enemy, that enemy will gain 8% turn meter. However, they will gain 3 damage over times for 2 turns. And this is a 3 dot disc. Right now, on top of my head, I don't see where this would be beneficial, because you're feeding turn meter to them. I don't know, just sounds a strange one, but maybe there'll be a really cool use for it. But right now I'm not sure in what kind of case this could be really useful. Let me know in the comments below if you've got any ideas. Up next, Unstable Decelerator. So whenever you deal damage to the enemy, they will lose 8% turn meter. And then up next, Hyper Accelerator. So it's the purple one, the 3 points one. So whenever you deal damage to the enemy, that enemy gains 5% speed. And then at the start of the turn, that enemy takes, okay, this actually makes sense, I guess. So you speed them up, and then they get a turn, and then they take damage. Still, again, not really convinced that this will be useful at all. We'll see. There has to be probably a reason why we have these two new discs that actually give bonuses to the enemy first, and then once they get a turn they get some sort of detrimental effect on them. Interesting. Alright, so moving on, the next two are kind of pertaining to gaining buffs. So Premonition, another purple one, the 4.1. So after an ally has gained 7 buffs, they gain Foresight, and then whenever they do evade, then they get their cooldowns decreased by 1. I'm pretty sure we had this one before already, but maybe had to gain 10 buffs instead. Maybe, so they just a little bit reduced it. We'll see if this one will be useful at some point. Again, all these 4-dot discs, you know, the usage for them kind of, they take a lot of space, so they're not always as useful considering how much space they take. Protection recovery, so whenever you gain a buff you also recover protection. I don't think that's new. Maybe before we were recovering 4% protection they just buffed it up, I'm not sure. And then the last group is just kind of, you know, whatever's left over here. So next we've got evasive technique. So for here we gain evasion up for 2 turns at the start, and then whenever we evade we gain 13% turn meter. I think the evasion up was there before, but I didn't think it had gaining turn meter things. That's always nice there to have, especially when you combine it, you know, with some of the Grandmaster's Yoda that spreads foresight. I think this could be useful. And then finally, honed skills. So allied attackers gain potency equal to 80% of their starting potency. So only attackers will gain potency. That's an interesting one, because usually the characters that need potency are really support, not attackers. Again, we'll see once we play through. Maybe this will be the key to get some of the feats done, I'm not sure. Anyway, these are kind of all the discs here. To be honest, none of the discs in here are really right now is screaming to me, pick me, but we'll have to wait and see, you know, how they work in practice. You never know. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. As always, I'll be creating lots of guides and videos as I progress through every day, so make sure again to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss those videos. Until then, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one, but until then, have fun, enjoy your life, and may the RNG be with you, my friends.